Hello there my lovely crafters, it's Terry here for Fairy Stamper. I recently got a few new stamps to play with, and one of them, which I was really excited about, was this gorgeous little Arabella, who you can see she's there with her ice skates on. And I immediately thought that that would be wonderful with my stream scene stamp. So my very first video that I did for Fairy Stamper was using this stream scene, and I'll put a link here in case you haven't seen that and if you wanted to check that out. And I absolutely loved colouring it up in my Copic markers. But for this, I want to do it very differently. So I want my Arabella to be around here. This is a 5x7 piece of watercolour card. I'm intending on, I've still got a mask from the last time that I used this stamp. And I'm planning on ink blending the sky with Distress Oxides. And then doing it as a very much sort of wintry scene, so lots of blues, and I've picked myself up a couple of nice embossing powders. So I've got one that's called Sparkling Snow, which you can see has got glitter in it, and one that's clear hologram sparkle. So I think I'm going to be using sort of obviously Distress Oxides on the sky, but then I might use, I think I'm going to use sort of watercolours. So this is going to be a very sort of different card to the first one. So it's going to be very much wintry, lots of blues and purples and white. So I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. So I have stamped a little mask for Arabella, because obviously I want her positioned about here in the foreground. So I'm going to have to stamp her first and then put a mask over her before I can then stamp the stream scene over her. So I'm just going to do that, fussy cut that out and stamp Arabella on and the stream scene on, and then position my mask on, and then I'll be back in a moment when I'm about to start the ink blending. Okay, so I stamped our lovely little fairy Arabella in this Nouveau hybrid ink pad Blue Mineral, which is a pale blue. And then I stamped the stream scene in Midnight Surf, which looks like quite a dark blue, but that will lighten up a bit. And then I've chosen my Distress Oxide colours. So I'm going to have a bit of Scattered Straw here to be a sort of sunrise, and then some Cracked Pistachio, and then Salvage Patina, and then Mermaid Lagoon. So I've just recently got some new ink blending brushes that I'm going to be using. So I'm not sure if I've actually ink blended on watercolour cardstock before, but it seems to be working okay. This is, in case anyone's interested, it is Winsor & Newton cold pressed A4 sheet that I cut down. Okay, I quite like that for the initial bit of sunrise. And then I'll go in with my greeny coloured one for some Cracked Pistachio. And then I've got a blue coloured one, which I'll reserve for all my bluey coloured inks. So we're going to go in with Salvage Patina next. I'm working on my Wendy Vecchi Ranger Make Art Station, which I've used in previous videos. It's essentially a strong magnetic platform it's a magnetic platform with 4 strong magnets, and it's wipeable, and I find it really helpful for ink blending, just to keep your project in place. So I really like that. You'll notice I've got a few smudges. There's one here and one here from when stamping out the stream scene, but it's just one of those things. It happens sometimes, so I'm not too worried about that. And I am going to trim the panel down anyway, because the idea is to put it onto a 5x7 card blank. So obviously that side can be trimmed, because that's where the boo-boo is. Or I could put something over it, stamp something else over it. Oops, don't you get coming up. No. And these Distress Oxides do blend so easily though. You know, you have to put much less effort than using Distress inks. I'm going to be using my Nouveau Aquaflow pens, and I might even use some of my Spectrum Noir shimmer pens, which are very similar, but they've got sparkle in. So I'm just going to sort of see how it goes. I've pulled out some blue colours and some bluey turquoises, and then I'll see how it goes as to whether I want to add anything else in, or whether I'm happy enough with what I've got. Because if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know I do tend to change my mind, which is fine, completely fine. Hope everyone's well anyway. And just to encourage you, if you're new to the Fairy Stamper YouTube channel, I'd highly encourage you to subscribe. We've got an excellent video design team who post really regularly, so there's lots of great sources of inspiration for you. Right, I'm quite happy with that. Usually it would be going back in and going back out with the colours, but I don't think I need to do much of that, to be honest. I'm quite happy with it the way that it is. Just do a little bit around here. I think that's given a nice blend. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So now I'll remove the mask. Oh, that looks lovely. So we've got a bit of the sunshine coming up, and then sort of blue sky. Actually, I've got faded jeans that might give it a bit more darkness. I won't put the mask back on because I'm not planning on going down far enough. Oh yeah, that's better. Yeah, just a bit darker. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's darker, that's more obviously nighttime, so yeah, very happy with that. So I'll show you what I've pulled out in terms of my Nouveau Aquaflow pens, which I bought when they were on offer in a bundle, and I haven't used them yet. So we've got Clear Water, True Turquoise, Blue Velvet, so a very dark one, and Empress Teal. I'm also going to grab a couple of paintbrushes. Yeah, I've just grabbed a couple of paintbrushes. Some are Nouveau, and this one is one that I've had for a very long time. But I need to activate all these pens, which means taking the yellow caps off and then activating them. Right, so I'm going to start with the water. I'm going to start with this one, and the nib is still crunchy because it's brand new. There we go. That's a lovely colour. So yeah, just picture a sort of wintry, snowy day. And so I'm going to add the snow by using embossing powder. So I've got a Versamark embossing pen. So once I'm finished with the colouring, I'm going to go in with the Versamark pen and add some what will look like snow with that embossing powder that I showed you, and that should look really pretty. So we're sort of imagining that it's snowed, so I'm going to have like blues for all of it, but different coloured blues, and I will sort of water them down. That's where our kitchen roll comes in handy, because we can dab that off a bit and make it lighter. Which we can also do with our watercolour paintbrush. So I'm just going in and lifting out some of the colour because I'm wanting it to look like a frozen lake. So obviously we want colour there, but we don't want that much colour, and that was the lightest watercolour that I had in the Aquaflows. So it's just working that a bit until I get the effect the way that I want it. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that. And then obviously there's going to be areas of shadow, which is why I wanted, you know, some darker colours. So I'm going to try some, that's still crunchy and hasn't wicked down that much, so I shall give it a bit more of a shake. Yep, that's a bit darker. That's better. I'm going to also have a bit of this darker colour around Arabella from the shadow that she would be casting on the water. But it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just to give the sort of the effect of the shadows there. Me using the this stamp in this way is very different to the way I used it in the last video that I mentioned, because in that video I coloured it the whole piece in alcohol marker, in my Copic alcohol markers, apart from the sky, which I did similarly but different colours. Okay, so this is coming along really nicely. I think I might be brave and go in to some of the darkest areas with this very dark colour, blue. So just these bits behind the cliff edges. Oh, I think it's nearly lunchtime, our tummy's rumbling. Sorry about that. Yeah, so these sort of darkest areas here, and anywhere that there might be a shadow cast. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. I do have noticed there's a bit of a harsh line here, so I just want to soften this up a bit. Right, so we've done the water. I think I'm happy with that. So for, obviously, usually because this is a hillside, like a cliff, that would be green, but I'm thinking that because it's night time, things are very much dark blue, and you know, white. So we've got the sun there. So I think I'm going to go for a mixture of, so I've got this teal. I might go with teal and purple. Just like a faded teal, just like sort of water that out quite a bit, and then like purple for the rocks, and again fade that out quite a bit. And then I'm going to go in and add the snow with the using the sparkly embossing powder on the tops of the hills and like on top of the some of the rocks, anywhere that like snow would gather. So I'm just trying to get it in everywhere it's meant to be, and then I will go back in and lighten it up so it's more like that. So I'm going to continue on with that for a bit, and then I'm going to use, as I said I would, use some of the purple on the cliff edges, and then think about another, maybe a different colour for the sand bank there, and then I'll be back once I've finished the watercolouring. Okay, my friends, so here we are. I'm quite pleased with the progress so far. I'm quite pleased with how the watercolouring turned out. I have gone in and darkened up some of the areas with some pencil crayons. And I've stamped again with the blue mineral. It hasn't given full coverage, unfortunately. I'm not quite sure why, but I've stamped it like 4 or 5 times now. And then I'm going to use my Versamark pen on the tops of the hills and the rocks to add this sparkling snow. Oh, actually, do you know what? I think I might do her in silver, just because that blue mineral hasn't stamped evenly. So I think actually it might be good to do her in silver, and then it'll cover up any little bits that I'm not happy with. Yeah, okay, so change of plan. Always good, you know, it happens. It needs to happen sometimes. I usually include a bit of footage of the heat embossing, but I'm not going to do that. But if you do want to see any of that, I did do some of that in my previous video. If you have a look in the playlist section on the Fairy Stamper Hugs page, each of the video design team members has got their own playlist. So if you find mine, then the last one I did include footage of heat embossing for you. So I'm going to do that now I've explained it, and then I'll be back in a moment with the finished card. And here we go, my friends, the completed card. So I'll tilt it in different angles so you can get a good look. See how beautiful fairy there is so shiny with that lovely silver embossing powder. I am in love with this glittery snow embossing powder from Wow. It looks even better than I'd imagined, to be honest. And I just used the Versamarker pen and just drew over it on top of the rocks and the hills and just the raised bits, basically. And it's glittery and white, so it's a mixture of like white embossing powder and iridescent glitter, you know, with iridescent where it picks up all the different colours around it. So it's picking up purples and greens, and I'm really chuffed with it, actually. And I've done what I usually do with my fairy wings, which is colour them in sage green Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. It seems to be one of my favourite sort of go-to ones. So what else have I done? I've simply gone round the outline of our lovely fairy in just a white gel pen. Obviously there's many on the market and I use a few different ones, but this one was the Signo Uniball one. I stamped some of the little sparkle dust and I used my, again, which I often use in my videos, my Sakura Jelly Roll pen, the sparkle one with a little starburst on. And then I've done lots of little snowdrops, just basically just white blobs all over the place with the Signo Jelly Roll pen, because, you know, the sort of, you know, I always like to have a little story that goes along with my card. So the story is that obviously the fairy's gone out ice skating and, you know, it has snowed. So there's fresh snow that's been settled, but now it's just a little gentle flurry has started and she's spreading her magic around. I've also used some pencil crayons, which are my Prismacolor ones. You can use any, but that's, if you wanted to know the brand, that's the one that I use. And I've used white just to go over some areas, just to add a bit of highlight. And I've used purple, dark blue in here, and purple and dark blue just in the shadows around there, just to sort of accentuate those bits. So it is, even though it doesn't look mixed media, it is quite mixed media, because we've got Distress Oxide blending, we've got watercolour painting, we've got heat embossing, we've got pencil crayons. So yeah, and then what I did was I simply trimmed the panel down to just under, I tend to do it 1/4 inch shorter than the card blank. So the card blank is 5 by 7, so 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then I do a nice black matte just to fit in between those. And I do think that a nice black matte on a card, I was also considering a holographic one, which would which would have equally looked nice, but I think just to keep it sort of cleaner, I've gone for the black, and yeah, I'm pleased with it, and there we go. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you've enjoyed the video and I hope you like the end result. I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below, and I'll always respond to you. Again, just a reminder, if you like this video, have a mooch around the channel. If you like the content, it'd be wonderful if you'd subscribe, and again, we'd love to have you on board over at the Fairy Stamper Hugs Facebook group. So that's all from me today. I'll be seeing you in another 2 weeks with my next Fairy Stamper card. Bye for now.